The Industries of the Future by Alec Ross. Picture this. It's 3 in the morning in Charleston, West Virginia, 1991. A college student is down on his hands and knees, mopping up sticky, whiskey-smelling vomit from a concrete floor. The air is thick with the aftermath of a country music concert. This isn't some cushy summer internship at a law firm or bank. This is the midnight janitorial crew. That young man scrubbing floors was Alec Ross. And here's the thing that haunted him. The men working alongside him weren't college kids earning beer money. These were guys in their 40s and 50s, men who should have been in their prime earning years. They were tough, decent people, but something had broken in them. Why? Because the world had pulled the rug out from under their feet. The coal mining job their fathers relied on? Now done by a machine. That factory job promising a stable life. Shipped off to Mexico or India. For them, this midnight shift wasn't a pit stop on the way to something better. It was the destination. They'd ended up on the wrong side of globalization. This one powerful memory is your key to understanding one of the most important books of our time, The Industries of the Future. Alec Ross didn't just read about economic disruption in some academic journal. He lived it. He saw it reflected in the tired eyes of those men. Then he spent the next 2 decades crisscrossing the globe, witnessing the flip side of that story. As a senior advisor for innovation to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, he traveled to over 40 countries, from cutting-edge robotics labs in South Korea to refugee camps in the Congo. He got a front-row seat to the next wave of change, one that he believes will make the last disruption look like a gentle ripple compared to a tsunami. This book is the intelligence report he brought back. It's a roadmap of the next 20 years, written for anyone who wants to understand how our world is about to be completely reshaped. This isn't science fiction we're talking about. These are scientific realities already in motion, forces that will define your career, your country, and your daily life. So today, we're going to explore that roadmap together. By the time we're done, you'll have a window into the next 2 decades. You'll grasp the massive shifts coming in robotics, genetics, money, data, and warfare. But more importantly, you'll understand the human drama behind it all, who comes out ahead, who gets left behind, and what it actually takes to end up on the winning side of the future. To understand where we're headed, we first need to grasp the fundamental force that Alec Ross identifies. He puts it simply, adapt or perish, now as ever, is nature's inexorable imperative. The last wave of globalization and technology hit many people in developed countries hard, like those janitors in West Virginia. Their skills couldn't keep pace with change, but that same brutal wave lifted over 1 billion people out of poverty into the middle class in places like China and India. It was a massive reshuffling of the deck. The next wave, though, it's going to be different. It won't just challenge factory workers. It's coming for middle classes everywhere on the planet. Lawyers, doctors, bankers, and yes, quite possibly you. And it all kicks off with the transformation of the most fundamental machine we know, the human body. Let's start in Japan. It's home to the longest living people on Earth, which sounds wonderful until you realize the challenge it creates. By 2050, nearly 40% of Japan's population will be over 65. They're going to need caregivers, but with birth rates so low, there simply won't be enough grandchildren or nurses to do the job. The math just doesn't add up. So, what's Japan's answer? Robots. Companies like Toyota and Honda aren't just building cars anymore. They're reinventing what family looks like. Toyota created a nursing assistant named Robina, a friendly-looking robot that can communicate, carry things, and help elderly people with daily tasks. Honda developed something called Asimo, a small humanoid that looks like a little astronaut. It can understand emotions, follow voice commands, and hold conversations to keep elderly patients company. There's even a therapeutic robot called Pero, designed to look like a baby harp seal. It's covered in soft white fur, loves being held, and responds to touch, offering all the comfort of a pet to people too frail to care for a real animal. But this revolution isn't just about companionship. It's about your job. The first wave of automation replaced work that was dangerous, dirty, and dreary. The next wave is gunning for the service sector. Jobs we thought required that uniquely human touch, work needing dexterity, judgment, and situational awareness, are now opening up to robots. This is happening because of two massive breakthroughs. First, something called cloud robotics. A single robot used to be limited to its own programming and experience. Now, connected to the cloud, any robot can instantly learn from the experiences of every other similar robot in the world. Imagine if you could instantly download the skills and knowledge of billions of other people into your brain. That's the quantum leap robots are making right now. The second breakthrough is in materials. Robots aren't just clunky metal contraptions anymore. They can be made of soft silicone or flexible polymers, making them look and feel eerily natural. The elephant in the room, of course, is jobs. Alec Ross tells the story of Foxconn, the massive Taiwanese company that assembles your iPhone. Its founder, Terry Gou, once announced plans to purchase 1 million robots to supplement his 1 million human workers. Why? He famously said, "As human beings are also animals, to manage 1 million animals gives me a headache." But it goes deeper than that frustration. It's pure economics. For decades, Chinese labor was dirt cheap, but wages have skyrocketed. A robot costs about $25,000 up front, roughly 3 times a worker's annual salary. But after that initial investment, its operating costs are minimal. No salary, no benefits, no strikes. As robot prices continue falling, the choice for employers becomes increasingly obvious. And this isn't just about manufacturing. Jobs that seemed like safe havens from globalization are now in the crosshairs. Waiters and waitresses? In Bangkok, the Hajime restaurant uses only robot waiters to take orders and serve food. Taxi drivers? Uber is already building a robotics research lab to develop a self-driving fleet that could make its 162,000 active drivers obsolete. Even paralegals, whose job involves searching through mountains of legal documents, are watching their work get automated. Ross tells the story of his own mother, who worked as a paralegal. Even as a teenager, he realized a computer should probably be doing her job. Today, computers largely are. Here's the great paradox of our era. Productivity is hitting record levels. Innovation has never been faster. Yet for many people, jobs are less secure and incomes are actually falling. But just as robots are taking away, they're also giving back. In operating rooms, surgical robots like the Da Vinci system translate a surgeon's hand movements into precise micro-movements, making complex surgeries safer and less invasive. A Ukrainian company developed a robotic glove called Enable Talk that can translate sign language into spoken words in real time, giving voice to people who are deaf and mute. At a small elementary school in Texas, a 12-year-old boy with leukemia, unable to attend class because of his compromised immune system, stays connected through a robot called VGO. The robot sits in his seat, its camera showing him the classroom while its screen shows his face to his classmates. He can raise its robotic hand to ask questions and speak through its speakers. The line between human and machine is getting blurry, but these changes aren't just happening on the outside. The most profound revolution is happening within our very cells. Alec Ross makes a bold prediction. The last trillion-dollar industry was built on a code of ones and zeros. The next will be built on our own genetic code. To understand what this means, you need to hear about Lucas Wortman. Lucas is an oncologist, a cancer researcher at Washington University who studies leukemia. In a cruel twist of fate, he was diagnosed with the very disease he devoted his life to fighting. He survived it twice, but in 2011, at age 33, it came back for a third time. For an adult with a third relapse of this particular cancer, there was no known treatment that could save him. The survival data didn't even exist because so few people lived long enough to generate it. But Lucas's colleagues were genomics experts. They decided to try something that had never been attempted before. They would sequence the entire genome of both his healthy cells and his cancer cells to pinpoint the exact mutation driving his disease. They put the university's 26 sequencing machines to work, running day and night. After several intense weeks, they found it. A single normally harmless gene in his body was overproducing a protein called FLT3, which was fueling the cancer's explosive growth. And here's where the miracle happened. By pure chance, Pfizer had recently released a drug called Sutent, designed to treat kidney cancer, but the science showed it worked by inhibiting that exact protein, FLT3. Lucas became the first person in history to use it for his type of leukemia. Within 2 weeks, he was in remission. Today, years later, his cancer hasn't returned. As he puts it without hesitation, sequencing really saved my life. Lucas Wortman's story is rare today, but Ross predicts it'll be routine in the future. Why? Because of the explosion happening in genomics. The very first human genome was sequenced in 2003 at a staggering cost of $2.7 billion. Today, the cost is approaching $1,000, and it's still dropping at a breathtaking rate. This is unleashing a medical revolution. Researchers like Bert Vogelstein at Johns Hopkins are developing what he calls a liquid biopsy, a simple blood test that can detect tiny amounts of tumor DNA, finding cancer when it's just 1% of the size needed to show up on an MRI. This means cancer could be detected and treated before a person even develops symptoms, transforming it from a death sentence into a manageable chronic condition. The same science is being applied to the brain. For decades, treating mental illnesses like depression has been educated guesswork. Doctors prescribe from a limited menu of drugs, hoping one works, adjusting doses based on instinct and trial and error. But now, by mapping the genes related to psychiatric illnesses, scientists are beginning to understand the biological roots of conditions, like schizophrenia and even suicide. Researchers at Johns Hopkins identified a gene that produces excessive quantities of a certain protein in the brains of people who had attempted suicide. The implication is breathtaking. One day, we might be able to develop treatments that reduce the biological impulse towards self-harm. Of course, this incredible power comes with a dark side. As genomics becomes more sophisticated, we're entering the world of designer babies. It's already possible to take a blood sample from a pregnant woman and map the entire genome of her fetus. In the past, this was mainly used to screen for conditions like Down syndrome. But soon, parents might know their unborn child's predisposition for heart disease, their likely adult height and weight, their aptitude for mathematics, or their risk for alcoholism. This forces us to grapple with terrifying ethical questions about genetic selection and how this knowledge will shape how we raise our children. The future of the human body, it seems, is being rewritten, and so is the future of our society, starting with something we use every day, money. Growing up, money was something physical you kept in a wallet or piggy bank. But over recent decades, it's been steadily transforming into code. Credit cards, ATMs, online banking, each step has taken us further from physical cash. Today, for over 500 million people, the bank is simply their phone. This codification of money is creating incredible opportunities, especially for people left out of traditional banking systems. To understand this, we need to travel to Africa, specifically Kenya. In many parts of Africa, traditional banks are rare, but mobile phones are everywhere. This situation gave birth to a revolutionary service called M-Pesa, which stands for mobile money. It allows anyone with a phone to deposit, send, and receive money through simple text messages. You just walk into a local M-Pesa agent's shop, often just a person in a small corner store, hand them cash, and they load it onto your mobile account. The impact has been staggering. In Kenya, a country of 43 million people, there are 19 million M-Pesa accounts. Roughly 25% of the entire country's economy flows through this mobile network. It has lifted rural household incomes by as much as 30%. People can receive money from family members abroad safely and cheaply, and small business owners can transact without needing a traditional bank account. In a place like the Congo, where corruption is rampant, Ross witnessed firsthand how mobile payments could pay soldiers directly, bypassing corrupt generals who would otherwise steal the cash. Coded money creates a digital trail, building trust and reducing corruption. This idea of coded trust is the engine behind another massive shift, the sharing economy. It started with eBay, a platform that did something radical. It used algorithms and a two-way rating system to make us trust complete strangers online. That breakthrough has now been applied to everything. Airbnb is now the world's largest hotel chain, but it doesn't own a single hotel room. Uber is the world's largest taxi company, but it doesn't own a fleet of cars. These companies created peer-to-peer marketplaces by turning underused assets, a spare bedroom, an empty seat in a car, into income streams. But the ultimate expression of coded money and trust is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, a digital currency that isn't controlled by any government or bank. It was born from a community deeply skeptical of traditional financial institutions. The genius of Bitcoin isn't the coin itself, but the technology behind it, the blockchain. The blockchain is essentially a giant public ledger where every single Bitcoin transaction ever made is recorded for everyone to see. This ledger isn't stored in one central location. It's distributed across millions of computers worldwide. This decentralization is what makes it so secure. To cheat the system, you'd have to simultaneously hack millions of computers, which is practically impossible. The blockchain, Ross argues, is a breakthrough in creating digital trust without a middleman like a bank or lawyer. It has the potential to become the new foundation for all sorts of trusted transactions, from property titles to legal contracts, dramatically slashing costs and fraud. But just as code can be used to create trust and value, it can also be weaponized to destroy them. This brings us to perhaps the most frightening industry of the future: the weaponization of code. On August 15, 2012, Saudi Aramco, the world's largest and most valuable energy company, was attacked. The weapon wasn't a bomb or missile. It was a computer virus called Shamoon. A rogue employee inserted a USB drive, and the virus tore through the company's network like wildfire, wiping the memory of 30,000 computers and replacing files with an image of a burning American flag. The attack nearly disrupted global energy production, which would have sent shockwaves through the entire world economy. It was a wake-up call. If the world's richest company could be brought to its knees by code, anyone could be. We've entered what Ross calls a code war. Cyberspace has been officially declared the fifth domain of warfare, joining land, sea, air, and space. And the players in this war are incredibly diverse. There are criminal hackers, like those who stole credit card information from 40 million target customers. And then there are nation-states. China has been accused of widespread corporate espionage, with a special military unit, PLA Unit 61398, allegedly stealing intellectual property and trade secrets from American companies for years. Russia has used cyber attacks as a prelude to military action, targeting the networks of Estonia, Georgia, and Ukraine before and during actual conflicts. The scary part is that the barriers to entry are incredibly low. You don't need billions of dollars in rare materials to build a cyber weapon. You just need a computer, internet connection, and coding skills. And the battlefield is expanding exponentially. We're entering the era of the Internet of Things, where everything from our cars and thermostats to our refrigerators and medical devices connects to the web. Cisco's chairman predicts it'll be a $19 trillion market. This creates enormous convenience, but also terrifying vulnerabilities. One security expert poses a chilling question: what if a terrorist, or even a kid pulling a prank, decides to shock all the pacemakers in America? It's no longer the stuff of movies. Hackers have already created thingbots, using compromised home appliances, like smart TVs, and even refrigerators to launch cyber attacks. This torrent of new technology, robots, genomics, digital money, cyber weapons, is all built on one foundational resource. It's the raw material of our time. Alec Ross puts it beautifully. Land was the raw material of the agricultural age. Iron was the raw material of the industrial age. Data is the raw material of the information age. Here's a staggering fact. 90% of all digital data in the world was generated in just the last 2 years. Every single minute, 2.4 million pieces of content get posted on Facebook, and 72 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube. The explosion is mind-boggling. But big data doesn't just refer to the sheer amount of information. It refers to our new ability to process it in real time to find patterns and make predictions. The 2012 Obama campaign, for example, used big data to revolutionize politics. They tested over 10,000 versions of their fundraising emails. One subject line, "I will be outspent," raised over $2.6 million. Another, "The one thing the polls got right," raised only $400,000. The campaign team admitted something remarkable. "We basically found our guts were worthless." Data, not intuition, had become king. This power is being applied to solve some of humanity's biggest challenges. Take language barriers. With tools like Google Translate processing over 1 billion translations daily, we're rapidly approaching a future of universal, real-time machine translation. Soon, you could be wearing a small earpiece that instantly translates any language being spoken to you and translates your speech back to them. This would shatter communication barriers and accelerate globalization on a massive scale, connecting economically isolated parts of the world to the global marketplace. Even more profound is the impact on agriculture. To feed the 9 billion people expected on Earth in coming decades, food production needs to increase by 70%. The best hope for achieving this is precision agriculture. By using sensors in fields, GPS data, and weather models, farmers can get precise, square-inch by square-inch instructions on what to plant, when to water, and exactly how much fertilizer to use. This will dramatically boost crop yields while also reducing pollution from excess fertilizer. But this new age of data comes at a steep price, the end of privacy as we've known it. Private companies already collect and sell as many as 75,000 individual data points about the average American consumer. Our digital footprints are practically permanent. As one expert warns, if a 9-year-old says something foolish online, it lives in perpetuity. Ross argues we're heading toward a world where everyone will have some kind of scandal in their past, simply because our mistakes and indiscretions will be preserved forever in data. This will force us to become a more forgiving society, but it also raises troubling questions about who owns our data and how it gets used. So in this new world of intelligent machines, editable genes, programmable money, and constant surveillance, where do the real opportunities lie? What does the geography of the future actually look like? Alec Ross offers one final, crucial piece of advice to world leaders. The 21st century is a terrible time to be a control freak. Countries that embrace openness and innovation will thrive. Those that try to control information and restrict freedom will stagnate. He points to Silicon Valley's success, built on open exchange of ideas, compared to countries where internet censorship and government control stifle creativity. 2 other factors, Ross argues, are paramount for success. The first is the empowerment of women. He points to the stark contrast between China and Japan. In China, where Mao once declared that women hold up half the sky, women are a powerful force in business. Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba, says women were indispensable to his success, and nearly a quarter of his top leadership roles are filled by women. In contrast, Japan's economy has stagnated, partly because its work culture is hostile to working mothers. 70% of Japanese women stop working after their first child. As Prime Minister Shinzo Abe himself admitted, Japan's GDP could grow by 16% if women participated in the labor force as much as men. The message is clear. Nations that don't fully empower half their population will be left in the dust. The second factor is empowering digital natives, the young people who grew up with this technology. In Silicon Valley, it's normal for companies to be started by people in their 20s. But in the more hierarchical cultures of Mediterranean Europe, young entrepreneurs often have to wait until their 40s to be taken seriously. This brain drain is crippling their economies. Finally, Ross leaves us with a sense of hope, pointing to the rise of Africa. In environments of scarcity, incredible creativity emerges, something known as, quote, frugal innovation. Services like M-Pesa wouldn't have been invented in a country with a robust banking system. He tells the story of Andela, a company that finds and trains top software developers in Nigeria, proving that genius is everywhere. It just needs opportunity. He mentions iCow, a mobile app that helps small-scale dairy farmers in Kenya manage their herds more effectively. From a midnight janitorial shift in West Virginia to the high-tech hubs of the future, the journey is one of profound and relentless change. The industries of the future aren't just technologies. They're forces rewriting the rules of success for nations, companies, and each one of us. As we close the industries of the future, it's easy to feel a bit of whiplash. The world Alec Ross describes is simultaneously exhilarating and terrifying. It's a world where cancer could be melted away with designer drugs, but where your job might be taken by a robot. A world where we can communicate with anyone, anywhere, in any language, but where our every move is tracked and stored in a permanent digital record. The most powerful lesson in this book isn't about any single technology. It's about the accelerating pace of change itself. For most of human history, the world you died in was largely the same as the one you were born into. That's no longer true. The world your children will inherit will be vastly different from ours, and the skills required to succeed in it are being redefined right now. So what does this mean for you as you stand on the cusp of your own future? Ross interviewed dozens of the world's leading innovators for this book, and he asked them all the same question: what attributes will today's kids need for tomorrow's economy? Two clear themes emerged. First, you need to develop fluency in at least 2 new languages, but not just any languages. The consensus was that you need 1 cultural language and 1 technical language. Former eBay CEO John Donahoe put it perfectly. If he were 18 today, he would major in computer science and take Mandarin. Multicultural fluency, the ability to navigate different cultures and ways of thinking, is becoming essential in a deeply interconnected global economy. And technical fluency, understanding the logic of programming and systems, is the new literacy. You may not need to become a professional coder, but as Jack Dorsey of Twitter and Square explains, learning to program teaches you how to think. It teaches you how to break down massive, complex problems into small, solvable parts, a skill that's invaluable in any field. Second, you need to cultivate an interdisciplinary mind. The silos between sciences and humanities are breaking down. The future belongs to those who can connect the dots. The geneticist who understands ethics, the computer scientist who understands human psychology, the artist who understands data visualization. The world's problems are too complex to be solved from a single perspective. Your ability to think across disciplines will be your greatest asset. Ultimately, this book is a call to action. It's a call to be curious, to be adaptable, and to be a lifelong learner. The janitors Alec Ross worked with were trapped because their world disappeared, and no one gave them a map to the new one. This book is that map. It doesn't have all the answers, but it asks all the right questions. It shows you where the new coastlines are forming, where new continents of opportunity are rising from the sea of change. Your job is to learn how to navigate them. That was a summary of The Industries of the Future by Alec Ross. We've certainly covered the main ideas today, but a summary is like looking at a travel brochure. It shows you the beautiful pictures, but it can't give you the feeling of actually being there. The real value of this book is in the stories, the details, and the way Ross connects these huge technological shifts to very real human consequences. This summary is meant to give you a taste, to help you decide if this journey is one you want to take. If the future of work, health, and society sparks your curiosity, I urge you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about gaining knowledge. It's about preparing yourself for the world you're about to step into. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please consider giving this a like and subscribing to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another transformative book that has shaped the minds of leaders and innovators. Let's keep learning and growing together.